بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. We left off in greater sins talking about keeping the family ties. We said that cutting the family ties can shorten the lifespan of a person, and also one of the things that lengthens the lifespan of the person is keeping good relations with the family. So we left off on page 115. We have a hadith from Imam Sadaqah alayhi salam that he said to Maysar, one of his companions, he said, "Ya Maysar, truly your lifespan has increased. What good actions have you been doing?" So he said, in my youth, I used to earn from my work and about 5 dinars a day. And I used to give these to my maternal uncle. So we see that him giving charity and the money he was earning, he was giving some portion of it to his uncle. This increased his lifespan. One of the companions was around the presence of Imam Qadim alayhi salam, and the Imam said, "You and your brother had an argument over the ownership of a house, so much so that you abused each other and you broke up the ties of relationship." We see this happens from time to time. People are fighting over property. People are fighting over inheritance, all sort of things. People leave land for someone, then all the siblings are fighting over it. So the Imam told him, "You and your brother had this fight over this house. You started cursing at each other and abusing each other, and you broke the ties of relationship with each other." He said, "This type of thing is not from my religion. Neither is it from the religion of my ancestors. Then fear Allah, the one who is without any partner. Fear the divine punishment. Due to this sin, death shall soon separate you two. Your brother will die in this journey, and you shall regret your actions." So we see that these things that we take for granted, we think are small, just arguing with the relatives and things like this, it can, Imam said, this is not from my religion. And to fear Allah, mean not to do it, and that this sin can bring the death quicker. So the man said, "May my life be sacrificed for you. When will I die?" Because he said his brother will die in this journey. He said, "When will I die?" The Imam said, "Your death had also arrived. It had already arrived, but you did an act of kindness to your father's sister, your aunt, and your lifespan increased by 20 years. So we see that his death had also approached, but he did something which increased his lifespan, which was kindness to his aunt. And it says, as the Imam predicted, Yaqub's, this companion of his, Yaqub, his brother died before he could reach home, and he was buried on the way. So his life could have been longer, but due to this act of breaking the family ties, his life was shortened. He said, the author says, the practice of being kind to relatives, keeping the family ties, it also brings worldly benefits, it brings spiritual benefits, and it also brings the benefits in the hereafter. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said that keeping the family ties perfects the morals and it encourages charity. When one performs this act, he has to be benevolent towards his relatives. The continuous practice of keeping the family ties brings refinement in his morals. In the same way, repeated acts of kindness inculcate a benign and compassionate feeling in the person, and the soul is purified from the sin of jealousy and enmity. So we see here that this is good for us because it's continuous act. When we have to condition ourselves to do continuous acts of charity, continuous acts of kindness, get in the habit of doing things such as we are in the habit, we are making our 5 daily prayers, or we're fasting every year in the month of Ramadan. We have to get in the habit of doing good things, and once we do a good action, we pray to Allah for us to continue in that good action, not to just do it one time, but to be continuous in the good actions. Imam Bakr alayhi salam says, being kind to the relatives purifies the deeds. Purification of deeds means that the shortcomings and all the good deeds of a person practicing being kind to relatives are naturally compensated, and all his good deeds are accepted by Allah. It increases wealth, wards off difficulties and calamities. The accounting of your actions on the day of Qiyamah is made easy. Even the ordained time of death is postponed. So we see that maybe we have done some actions, but there were shortcomings in those actions. This keeping kindness and good relation with the relatives compensates for those shortcomings that we had in other areas. And also we see that in this world, it increases the wealth, keeps away difficulty. Just as we say Sadaqah, we pay Sadaqah, it keeps away the calamities. Same with being kind to the relatives, keeps away difficulties and calamities. And Allah will make our judgment easy on that day. And our death is postponed. Allah has made it easy for us. He made the path easy for us. I mean, look at all we can achieve by just being kind to our relatives. This is not hard. It doesn't take money. A lot of times we say, well, I don't have any money. I cannot build a school or an orphanage or a hospital or, give sadaqah to people. This action, Allah has made it easy for us. We don't even need money for this. We just be kind to our relatives and we get all of these benefits and all these blessings. Imam Sajjad alayhi salam said there are two actions towards which a step taken is liked more by Allah than anything else. One is the step taken to join a row formed in the name of Allah. For example, we go to make a step towards Salatul Jama'ah, or congregational Salat, or we go step towards defending Islam. The second is the one that is taken to extend a hand of friendship towards his family and relatives, the ones that want to break relationship with him. So these two actions are, these steps towards this action is liked more than Allah by anything else. So when someone wants to break the relationship with us, when we take the extra step and extend our hand to them, and we don't want to break relations, we try to keep the good relations with them, Allah loves this action more than anything else, especially when they try to break relationship with us. Most of us are like, oh, well, whatever, they don't want to deal with me, then I don't deal with them. And we break the relationship too. But we should keep relationship with them, even if they don't want to deal with us. Not saying we're forcing ourselves on them or anything, but we shouldn't have the intention of, okay, forget them too then. I cut the relationship with them because they cut with me. We shouldn't have that intention, and we should have the door always open and, wish good for them at least. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, certainly there is a section in the paradise which cannot be attained except by three kinds of people. First, the just imam. Second, the one who is kind to his relatives, keeps relationship with his relatives. And the third, the one who has family and children, but remains patient in poverty and difficulties. So these type of people will have a special section in paradise. And the reward for the keeping the relationship with the relatives, Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he described it in one of the narrations. He says, when a person goes towards his relatives so that he can fulfill his rights with his life and with his wealth, Allah bestows upon him the reward of a shaheed, of a martyr, at every step he takes towards them. Allah writes down 40,000 hasana, or good deeds, and he erases 40,000 of his sins. And he elevates him by 40,000 levels. The person achieves the position of the one who has worshipped Allah for 100 years. Subhanallah. This is just for all these rewards are just for this action. Allah has made it very easy for us. All we have to do is go towards our relatives and do good deeds. And look at all the things we can earn by this. We get the rank of reward of a shaheed, 40,000 good deeds, 40,000 sins eliminated, and we get raised 40,000 levels. And we are like one who has worshipped Allah for 100 years. Subhanallah. Allah has given us all these good deeds for this one action. Whereas when we commit bad action, we get one sin. But when we do good action, we get multiplied and multiplied hasanat or thawab, good deeds. He says at another place, Prophet said, the reward for sadaqah in the way of Allah is 10 times, whereas the reward for giving alone is 12 times. Someone may say, why, is giving sadaqah 10 times, but giving alone is 12 times? Because it's said that in giving alone, the dignity of the person receiving the money is maintained. So when we give sadaqah, maybe they feel ashamed that they had to take some sadaqah or charity. But when it is alone, it maintains their dignity. The reward of the good behavior to the believing brothers is 12 times. And the reward for good behavior towards our relatives is 24 times. So we see how high this level is of being good to our relatives. He said the divine law of Islam has not provided any fixed definition for these two terms, for in being kind and keeping the relationship with the family, and for breaking the relationship with the family. He says, in this case, the meaning as judged by common sense and reason must be accepted. We must consider all the relatives from the father's side and the mother's side, irrespective of whether they are close or distant, to be our kith and kin who have a right on us. In the same way, the children of the daughters and their descendants also come in this category. He says, Quran says, Surah 13, ayat 21, those who join together those things which Allah has commanded to be joined. One of the companions asked about this ayat. He asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and he said, you have been commanded to do good to your relatives and keeping your relationship with them towards all of your relatives, whether they are mahram to you or ghayra mahram or non-mahram, whether they are distant relatives or they are closely related, whether they are immediate relatives or they are separated even by several generations. So there's no limit on these family members. As long as we are related to them, then we have to keep the relationship with them, and the reward for doing good for them is in place, and the punishment for cutting the relationship with them is also in place. He said, it's generally observed that people tend to behave good towards the wealthy relatives, and they try to avoid the poor relatives. He says that Islam doesn't differentiate between these two, between rich and poor relatives. It doesn't say be good to your rich relatives and forget your poor relatives. He said what is important with being good to relatives and keeping the relationship is the closeness of relationship. The more closely a person is related to, the more important and necessary it is to fulfill their rights. We shouldn't avoid those relatives, who are poor, but we should lift our hand to them to lift them up to where we are at least, or help them get out of that situation. And there's a lot of thawab and reward in this. He says any behavior which is generally regarded by people as good, kind, gracious, or obligatory when directed towards your relatives is doing good towards them. The Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, the kindness towards the relatives and goodness towards the believing brother makes easy your reckoning on the day of judgment. It protects you from sins. So you should be kind to your relatives and be good to your believing brothers, even if it is as little as a sincere salam or a reply to salam. When we look at salam, we look at what Imam says about salam. It says, even if as little as giving salam or replying to salam. Imam Bakr alayhi salam, he has said in narrations that Allah surely loves the exchanging the greeting of peace or giving the salam. Allah loves this, that we give salam between each other. And a lot of times we think of this Islamic greeting, when we say assalamu alaikum, we sometimes people just, look at it as it merely translates to equivalent of saying hello or hi or something like this. But this greeting is a lot more than that. It's a method that Allah prescribed for us to greet each other in Quran. When we see that, Surah 6, Ayat 54, when the faithful come to you, say to them, peace be upon you, or salamun alaikum. Also, in Surah 4, Ayat 86, he says, answer a greeting in kinder words than those said to you in the greeting, or at least as kind. Allah keeps account of all things. So someone says, assalamu alaikum to us, it's better that we say, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, or something better. Or they say, at least we should reply with the same greeting back, wa alaikum salam. We should at least do this minimum, but it's always better to go over. You see, when sometime when two Muslims, they come and they greet each other, it's like a battle of the greetings. They say a lot of greeting, or assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. They say Sheikhna Aziz wa Jalil wa Latif, like all these greetings, and it's like a competition of the other one has to reply and say even better than this. So even this interaction takes some time. Also this greeting of salam is the greeting that's in Jannah as well. Allah said in Quran in Surah 39, Ayat 73, the pious ones will be led to paradise in large groups. Its gates will be open to them and they will be brought nearby, and its keepers will say, welcome, peace be upon you, salamu alaikum. Enter the gates of paradise to live therein forever. So greeting one another with sincerity, it builds a bond of friendship. And when we give salam to our family members, it builds the bond of kinship between us. And it strengthens our ties as a community when we give salam to each other. We'll feel more open to the other person. We'll behave more like family members with each other. And when we greet each other more often. We are one big family of believers in Allah. So we have to strive our best to get closer to one another. And this salam brings us closer to one another. As we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has said, I swear by the Lord who has control over my life that you will not enter heaven unless you believe. And you will not believe unless you love each other. Do you want me to tell you what to do to help you love each other? So everyone replied, yes, we want to know, because this is the key to get to Jannah. He said, establish saying assalamu alaikum to greet each other. So Prophet is telling us to establish this. This will bring love between our hearts. And if we love each other, then we will have truly believed. And if we truly believe, we will go to Jannah, inshallah, to paradise. He said, whenever you meet one of your believing brothers, greet him and shake hands. Allah Almighty respects the angels for greeting, and you should follow the angels in this respect. So the angels give each other these greetings. We should follow in their footsteps, he's saying, and that we should greet each other and shake hands. Also, Imam Bakr alayhi salam quoted Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, greet and shake hands when you meet each other and seek Allah's forgiveness when you depart from each other. He said that shaking hands with each other removes the malice from each other. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, shaking hands is the perfect greeting of the resident, and embracement or giving the believer the hug is the perfect greeting of the traveler. Shaking hands with believer has 1,000 thawab. This is from Imam Sadiq. Whenever two men shake hands, the reward of the one who initiates the handshake is more than the other one. Also know that due to the handshaking, all the sins will be eliminated and no sin will remain. They say, another narration, when they shake the hands, the sins fall away like the leaves would fall from the trees. This is in normal time. Obviously, when we were going through this pandemic and things like this is exception to the rule. If the shaking hands promotes, or the possibility is higher to transmit disease or something like this, in that case of fear, this is removed because of exception. But in general times, this is the way that believers should greet each other. So we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, they encourage greetings and even handshakes, and even to embrace one another when we haven't seen each other in a long time. They have lived far away. One brother is living, New York, other brothers in California. They live far away and they don't see each other for a long time. It's even more than handshake that they should embrace each other. This is recommended from the Imams. And giving the greeting first has a lot of reward. We see that because a lot of times someone may say, I'm not greeting them, I'm waiting for them to greet me. They should come and give me salam. But to initiate the salam, you're opening up to them, and it's even better. So if we have grudge with someone, or we know someone doesn't like us. I used to go to one community a long time ago, and there was one person who's always giving me a hard time. No matter what I do, always give me a hard time. Always try to bicker with me, argue with me after. He would sit in my majlis, and he would take notes, not notes for himself, but notes, and try to look things up on his phone to say, oh, this doesn't match this and that, and all these things. I don't know why, but always someone is like this. So I would make a point to go sit with him. It would make him very uncomfortable. He would get uncomfortable, but I would go and I would give him salam. When I see him, I give him salam. I shake his hand, ask him how he's doing. I go and sit with him and eat with him, and all of this, because we see that they have something and they're trying to break relationship with us, either brotherly relation, or we have some family members maybe are like this too. But we should initiate the salam to them. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he said that there are 70 rewards for the greeting. 69 are given to the one who greets first, and the one is given to the one who responds. So 69 thawab are given just for the one who initiates. So we should be wanting to initiate the salam so we can get the thawab, and we should be going after the thawab. We should strive to be the first one to initiate the greeting. A lot of times we find a dispute between the two people, one and the other, and they're going to say, I'm not going to talk to them and this and that. There's some relatives maybe they haven't spoken in years, decades, and they've argued so long, and friends have fought so long they don't even know what they're fighting for. But the pride, is interfering with them, is initiating the greeting to the other one. So we have to go and give the salam. We should initiate it. Imam Hussein alayhi salam said, the true stingy person is the one who refrains from greeting. And the greeting have a lot of significance to it, that one shouldn't even speak to the other person if they haven't started with the greeting. We see Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, do not reply to a person who begins talking without having greeted with the salutation. When they start talking to you without saying Salamu alaikum, don't talk. Imam says don't talk to them. If another believer comes to you and starts talking to you without salam, you have to initiate the salam. You have to start with that. He says don't even talk to them without salam. We have been commanded to give salam to each other. And all these narrations I've mentioned, they are found in one of the beautiful books. If you like to read a lot of hadith or gather a book on hadith, it's called Mishkat al-Anwar by Tabrasi. Very good book. So even the salam has so much importance that we have to reply to someone, even when we are talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. we are praying our salat, and someone gives us salam, we are talking to Allah, we are praying to Allah, worshiping Allah. Salam is so important that we still have to give salam. We have to return salam to that person. There's ahkam for this. From Ayatollah Sayyid al-Sistani in his Risala, it says that a person offering prayer should not greet anyone with salam. And if another person says salam to him, he should use the same words in reply without adding anything to it. So the person is making salat. He shouldn't initiate a salam to someone. But if someone comes in and says salam, they walk in and say, Salamu alaikum. He says, reply to them with the same. He gives example. If someone comes, says, Assalamu alaikum, he should say, Assalamu alaikum in reply, without adding wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and these things. As an obligatory precaution, he should not utter alaikum or alaika before the word salam. Like the person, normally we say, wa alaikum assalam. He said, no, say it in the same way that they have said it. He said, as obligatory precaution, he should not utter alaikum or alaika before salam. If the one who is greeted him did not say so, in fact, the recommended precaution is that what you reply to him must be the same as he has said to you. So if he said salamun alaikum, the reply should be assalamu alaikum. If he says assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, the reply should be assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and so on and so forth. If a person in the salat, he says, if a person in, this is from Risala, those who have Risala, this is the ruling 1146. Then 1151, he says, if a person in salat does not respond to the salam, his prayers are in order. It doesn't invalidate his prayer, but he would have committed a sin. Subhanallah, look at the importance of salam. That even when we are talking to Allah and someone gives us salam and we don't say the salam back to him, we have committed a sin, even while we are making salat. So saying salam to each other holds a lot of importance. And it's more than just an Arabic version of saying hello. Actually this salam or this greeting is a dua from one person to the other, wishing on them, the peace and security of Allah on the other person. We're praying for their well-being. And this, it manifests to the other person. It shows the other person that we genuinely care about them and we are concerned about them and we care for their well-being. It shows that we care for their success and for their safety in this world, as well as wishing peace and security on them and hereafter. So we have to take time, out of our busy life and give greetings to our family members. We should give greetings to our friends, to our neighbors, to our community members. And we have to think about those people who we haven't spoken to in a long time. And some people that maybe have been holding grudge against us, or we have been holding grudge against them, and reach out to them and initiate the greeting of peace to them. This is very important that we see even in this narration that Imam is telling us to be kind to your relatives and be good to your believing brothers, even if it is as little as a sincere salam or giving a hearty reply to salam. At another place, Imam, he says, do goodness to your relatives, or keep the relationship with your relatives and the near ones, even if it is just by offering a glass of water to them. Something is simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be something hard for us to do. Even something as small as just getting some water for your mother or for your father or for someone, this is considered as doing good towards your relatives. Shahida Thani, he says that he makes levels for the doing good towards the relatives. And he says that it's deduced from the narrations that the highest stage of being keeping the family relations is to consider the relatives as our own selves. That is, we should wish for our family what we wish for ourselves. We want good for us, so we want good for them. The next stage is to help the relatives overcome the difficulties and hardships that they're facing. So we find them in difficulty, we try to grab them by their hand, pull them up. Don't kick them while they're down or talk about them while they are down. Try to help them. Next, we must try to benefit them as much as possible in the areas where they need the help. And as he says, of course, in a manner permitted by religion. Said this benefit can be either economic or by way of making a person independent. Giving a person a start. You know, they just need a little bit of help. They're trying, they're struggling, but everyone at some point in their life, they need a little bit of help. And maybe we're in that position to help someone else. We should try to help them. And this is one of the levels of being kind to relatives and keeping the relationship with relatives, helping make another person independent, securing them a job, for example, or helping them get into a school where they learn a trade, something that they can sustain themselves. It also can be in the form of a sound advice, spiritual guidance, religious teachings. Maybe they are struggling in something, and they have a spiritual disease that they are going through, and you have the remedy for that disease, or maybe you have been through this before, and you know how to help them overcome this. Then this also is being good towards relatives, to help them with advice, with guidance, to show them the way, that the steps they need to take to become to overcome that thing, or the steps they need to take to overcome their poverty or their job situation, these things. Shahid Athani said the fourth stage of being kind to relatives is towards those people who are dependents of our relatives. For example, the brother's wife or the stepmother. These people are not direct relatives of us, but they are dependent on our relatives. So then this way, they are a form of relatives, even though they're not blood related, but they are a type of relative to us. The simplest kind of keeping the family relations consists of giving salam. A lesser kind is conveying of salam through someone else. Sometimes we don't see that person, so we say, I give salam, send salam to so and so for me. I'm not going to see them, but when you see them, give salam. He said the smallest kind of keeping the family relation is to pray for relatives in their presence and to encourage them. So this is at least we can do, is we can pray for them. We can pray to Allah for their success. We encourage them, tell them you're doing an excellent job. We pray for Allah to help you to, keep on this path. You're working towards a good goal, all of these things. And also we can pray for our relatives when they are absent. When we are by ourselves, after our prayers, we can pray for our relatives, success for them in this world and the hereafter. He says the difference between breaking relations with the near kin and the distant relatives. He says breaking relationship and keeping the relationship with respect to close family members could be different from that with the distant relatives. It's possible that a certain action or attitude towards a close relative would amount to breaking the relation, but the same towards a distant relative may not be regarded in that way, because people view things differently. Also, a certain behavior with a knowledgeable and pious person may be termed as breaking a relationship. But with respect towards other relatives, it might not be that seen in that type of way. So different things are viewed in different ways. Something that you may do with your cousin, if you did that towards your grandfather, it would be seen as disrespectful. This is what he's saying. The difference between different people. Some view this would be disrespectful towards one person, but a distant relative, maybe it is not seen as disrespectful. He said it's best to refrain from every action that could possibly amount to cutting the relationship with a family or doing bad towards a family member. And we have to observe precaution in this matter. And just in case we bring on ourselves some severe punishment and incur upon ourselves a greater sin. So we should be precautious in this matter and not do anything that would upset or disrespect or cause the breaking in the relationship with our family members. The ones most guilty of the breaking a relationship with the family members, the author says, are those who are rich and affluent, but they don't acknowledge their connections with their poor relatives, and they deal with them with pride and arrogance, while they are polite and kind to wealthy relatives. Maybe they act like the poor relatives, they don't know them anymore. Let's say some people came from bad area in the poor area, and one of them made it out. And now this person feels he is above all of those other family members and doesn't want anything to do with those family members anymore. And he acts like they are not even his family, or they act arrogant with them. But the rich relatives, they act nice with them. He's saying we cannot do this. To neglect one's duty and give importance to material possessions contradicts the laws of Islam, both in letter and the spirit. We see that Imam Bakr alayhi salam, he said, shame on the brother who is a brother who looks after you when you are rich and he separates from you when you are poor. This is from Kitab al-Arshad by Sheikh al-Mufid. We see that we cannot just look for someone based on the interest of the mutual interest that, okay, they have money, so we want to be around them. These other people are poor, they're beneath us, we don't want to be with them. They are only there with you when you have money. Then when you are struggling, you never find these people anywhere. They don't answer their phone, they don't do anything for you. They act like they don't know you. You cannot get them to help at all. They separate from you. A true friend, a true brother, a true family member, they are there for you through thick and thin. They are there for you through all situations, whether you are in good times or bad times. But unfortunately, the people who are there for you all the time are very few when you look at it. If we look at all the people we know, how many people can we count on when the times are difficult? So we have to do this towards other people. When they are in difficult situations, we are there for them. Anything they need, they feel they can depend on us and call on us. And when the same thing, when we are in need, we should feel that we could ask them for help. Not only friends or family just in good times, but we have to be there for all situations, inshallah. He says, every kind of enjoining keeping the family relations, the failure of which is viewed as some sort of breaking relationship, is obligatory for us. So if we see something, if we don't do that action, it would be seen very badly, and it would be seen like we are breaking the relationship with our family. Then it's obligatory for us to do that. He said, for example, if a person is unable to fulfill his needs due to poverty, or is unable to get medical aid for any reason, or he has a debt, or he approaches a rich relative for help, it is obligatory on the rich relative to help him, even if the rich relative is not approached directly, but he comes to know about the situation of his poor relative. It's obligatory on him to help his less fortunate relative. The wealthy man who fails to carry out these obligations will be guilty of breaking relationships with the family members. So we see that it becomes wajib on us to help our family when we can. When we have the means to help them, we should help them. We shouldn't look at them and watch them struggle. We have to teach them the way that they can, make it for themselves, or find them a job, or offer them something. Or if it's some immediate need that needs money, then we have to help them in that. He says it's, however, not obligatory for a person to help his poor relative if he himself is not in a sound position to do so, and he fears that his finances will be constrained, or that if he himself may become destitute. Also, keeping the relation with the family is not obligatory if by doing so he will violate the laws of Islam. For example, one may need not pay a visit to a relative if by doing so he would be in the midst of non-mahram, or be compelled to, he says, be in a bad situation. For example, to visit his relative, he needs to go to the nightclub. He needs to go to the place where they are, we say like the crack house, like the drug house that is relative, na'udhu billah, is in this place. And that you have to go in the house of where all the drugs are being used to visit him. Then in this case, obviously, it's not wajib on us to do that, because it will violate the laws of Islam to be in those type of situations. He says, this is the last small paragraph and we'll end. Sometimes we may be in doubt whether a particular action could be considered as enjoining relationship, keeping relationship with family, or it could be breaking relationship with family. We don't know which category it belongs to. In this case, we have to refer to how people would view it, the common usage, urf. The criteria for deciding that on a particular behavior, if it is in this category of keeping relation or this category of breaking relation, depends on the general feeling for it, which we call urf. If a small lapse, like not saluting or giving salutation, he says, or non-compliance with a small request is breaking relationship according to those around us, then it is this way. But by the same token, if observing small niceties and are considered as keeping relationship with the family, then it is that way. It all depends on how people view these things, how the common, we can say, customs of the people view the relationship between family. If a person did this, would it be seen as he breaking the relationship with his family or not? If he does this, would it be seen as doing good towards relatives or not? It goes off of the common usage. So we will end here as we've run out of time. We'll take a break, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Jazakallah, Sheikh. Very important discussion. Really opening eyes regarding the relationship with the relatives, and particularly I noticed this with the friends, like greetings and saying salam and all, so much important. So Jazakallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so we'll come back in about 5 minutes, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay.